Okay guys, so today I have a quick video for you on Herald of the Arclight and how to make an Omni Negate before your 5th summon regardless of whether or not you are Darklocked. There are two ways that you would typically make this. You have to have two high quality ways to play the game. Usually that's going to be Witch of the White Forest and LZ of the White Forest. Sylvie doesn't work because it uses your normal summon and this combo revolves around a Stellar. Technically there are other ways to do it with weird hands where you can pitch the Stellar off of a Black Witch and have it in the grave so that when you pitch a spell for an LZ or an Arciela or something like that, you can trigger the Stellar and get her back from grave. But I'm going to ignore the wonky hands and just show you the basic line and how you should think about going for this and some very important things to take into consideration because Herald of the Arclight can affect you as well. Okay, so we're going to start by activating Witch of the White Forest and search for a Stellar. A Stellar will normal summon, and before we do anything with her, we're going to use Witch of the White Forest to target a White Forest monster we control, which is just a Stellar, and turn her into a tuner. We have to do that first, because after that, a Stellar will send the field spell to summon the Sylvie from deck. Now Sylvie can trigger on a new chain and search for our Tails of the White Forest. Here we can pitch the Tails to summon the LZ, and the LZ will search for the LZ Azamina. Now the Tails will reset itself, and you actually do have to sequence it this way and go into the Herald of the Arclight pretty soon, because you're on summon 3 now, and you don't want to do your entire ladder and then lose to Nib anyhow, and never get to make the Herald. So you're obviously going to Herald as soon as possible. Here I'm going to activate Tails and search for the White Witch. This is more just to show that in your basic game plan, you always want to search the same things in every ladder. So you want your level 2 non-tuner, you want your level 4 tuner, you want your LZ Azamina because this gives you good search even if you're Darklocked, and you always want your White Witch to enable your Vengeance plays. Now we will sync into Herald of the Arclight. So this is summon 4 here because it was 1 was a Stellar, 2 was Sylvie, 3 was LZ, and 4 is Herald of the Arclight. Technically, it is probably better to use your Tails of the White Forest after you summon the Herald, because you aren't under pressure of Nibby yet, and so it's not like you're going to trade your Herald for anything, but you do want to make sure that your Tails resolves and gets access to D-Bells the White Witch. You actually don't want to access this through Foolish Burial Goods, because if you read Herald, the first line says, any monster sent from the hand or main deck to the graveyard is banished instead. So this is a floodgate that applies to both players, and if you go for the Foolish Burial Goods route, Foolish Burial Goods will dump Curse of Diabel, which will add Philia. Philia will add Diabel's the White Witch. And then Diabel's the White Witch will summon itself and dump Vengeance. But the Vengeance will be banished instead because the Herald of the Arclight affects both players with the Floodgate effect. So unless you're going to do something like skip Diabel's the White Witch and you're going to Foolish Burial Goods, dump Curse, Curse give you Philia, Philia give you Vengeance, and then hard summon the Vengeance that way, you'll still need a way to set up the trap. So anyhow, the point is, you want to actually hard search the D-Bells the White Witch, and this is the thing that dumps Curse, gives you Philia, gives you Vengeance, so Vengeance comes from your hand, and is not being dumped to the graveyard to just be banished instead. Okay, so this was summoned 4. Now we can summon Azamina LZ by her own effect, specialing her from hand. And here we can go into Arciela. Technically, in this combo, I am using a blank Speller Trap to pitch for the Arciela, but you don't actually need this. You can just make, like even a Silvera or Arciela without effect, and you're going to search off of the LZ Azamina anyhow. The most important thing here is for you to float your Stellar from the grave, you do have to trigger the Arciela, and so using the effect on a blank is still pretty important. So we can trigger our Stellar on a new chain here. She'll come back because we pitched something for the Arciela. So for you to go into Diabel Queen, you do actually have to have a blank to pitch here. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Okay, so now we can go into our Diabel Queen, and Diabel Queen can add back our Tails of the White Forest. So now we can search for our Diabel Star the Black Witch, and of course we are Darklocked, so we don't really care too much that we're going Wanted before Deception, because Deception doesn't get us into Hallowed plays because we cannot fusion summon those dark monsters anyhow. So now I'm going to pitch another blank off of the Black Witch, and this is a true blank because this can pitch anything, and then that will set our other blank. In most cases, if you're playing like the basic flex list, you're going to be setting something like Morian, but obviously this is basically a blank that the Witch can set here. Now you can pitch your other blank. So in this case, Sinful Spoils of the White Forest is something you could search off of the Arciela, but you can also just pitch the Morian and reset the Morian, so it doesn't really matter either way. So now the D-Bells, the White Witch, can dump the Curse. Curse can give you Philia, and Philia can add the Vengeance to your hand, and you summon that from your hand. But before we do that, here's the other thing about the Dark Lock. If you have your Black Witch on field as part of your basic combo, you bring out your Sylvia the White Forest, and now you can make your level 11. So in this particular instance, Jura actually is way better than Psychic and Punisher, because Psychic and Punisher doesn't provide any pressure when you're going first. Psychic and Punisher is obviously a very different type of card for very different circumstances, but because your extra deck has limited slots, even in a flexible extra deck, Jura is the card to make here if you want to go for it. Obviously, you don't have to do that if you're trying to keep this for a Guardian Chimera play. You can just leave the Black Witch and have the Sylvie body out of turn for the 2 bodies for the Guardian Chimera. And then you want another monster blank in your hand. If you don't have any, it'll usually be the Sylvie add back out of turn, and you can still make the Guardian Chimera that way. So just keep that in mind. I'm just showing you that Jura is an option, but really if you're going for this route, you can still make Guardian Chimera no problem. And also chain block it with the Black Witch effect. So anyhow, now we can summon the Vengeance from hand, banishing whatever blanks plus the curse here, and that's basically the end board. So we have the Omni Negate. In this case, we have Jura, or we just have the bodies for the Guardian Chimera play. We have the double Diabel, we actually have the triple Diabel, and then the tails that we added back. Okay, so then I'll show you just like one other random way to do it. So this is if you also draw Azamina LZ, you're going to start the same way, where you Witch of the White Forest, you add a Stellar, summon a Stellar, turn it into a tuner. That doesn't change. A Stellar, pitch the field spell, bring out the Sylvie. Sylvie can now search for Tales of the White Forest. You can summon the Azamina LZ from your hand. And here, because you are trying to respect Nib, you're going to make the Herald of the Arclight early. You're not going to ladder with Sylvie and LZ Azamina yet. And then you will be able to trigger the LZ Azamina and search for whatever. Now here we're going to activate Wanted, search for the Witch here. We're going to Witch, pitch whatever blank, a true blank, and set the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. So now we can activate Tales of the White Forest because we have not gone through LZ yet in this line. Search for the LZ. The LZ will send the whatever blank the Witch set. In this case, Sinful Spoils of the White Forest will reset itself. If it were Morian, then the Morian could reset it off its own effect. And because we have pitched a spell or trap for cost, that allows us to bring the Esteller out from grave. And because we're choosing Sinful Spoils of the White Forest as our blank Sinful Spoils card off the Witch, the Esteller is also going to come back. So now, even though we've done it in a different way where we used our LZ Azamina early and went into our Witch early, we still can go all the way into like an Arciela here. And the Arciela, you know, whether or not you use the effect doesn't change the fact that you're going to complete the entire ladder. So here, the Arciela, just for the sake of it, I'm going to show you, we're going to send our own Sinful Spoils of the White Forest, which we won't get back because we already used the effect. But, you know, just for the sake of keeping our blanks in hand, I'll send that and then make Diabel Queen here, and now we can add back whatever. So here I'm going to add back the tails, but obviously you could also add back the Sinful Spoils of the White Forest. And even if you had drawn something like a Deception, you know, you could have used the Deception earlier and you get it back in the end phase. Like, you're really just focusing on the resource economy here, so you choose what you need to add back based on whatever else is in your hand. Then the Sylvie can bring itself out if we are choosing to go for the Jura line. So here Jura is probably a little bit better if we have not added back Sinful Spoils of the White Forest off of Diabel, because we instead chose to add back Tails. And the cool thing about this line is when we summon Witch by pitching Tails here, because we did not use the Tails reset effect, which we normally do in the basic line, this will still reset itself here. Then the Witch will dump the Curse. Curse will give us Philia, and Philia will add the Vengeance to our hand. Remember, is very important because any monster sent from the hand or main deck to the graveyard is banished instead. So, now we can summon the Vengeance. By the way, this can catch your opponent off guard, especially if they just think of it as an Omni Negate, because they're not going to be able to use hand trap type effects that require them as cost to send from the hand to the graveyard. So this card here says, Effect Veiler says, send this card from your hand to the graveyard, then target one effect monster your opponent controls. So this activation procedure here is before the semicolon, which means this actually has to happen. Otherwise, you can't even attempt to activate it. So imagine your opponent, you know, isn't really thinking about this, and they're like, okay, well, I need to save my Veiler for the Witch because I don't want to deal with the Vengeance. And then they go Veiler, they pitch their Veiler in the grave, and then you have to say, hey, actually, you can't use the Veiler. Now you know they have a Veiler in hand, and then if you're actually serious, you know, they would get a warning. So the point of this is just to show you that there are multiple ways to get to it, and you're just trying to do more or less the same thing every single time. So yeah, there is the Herald of the Arclight play. I may cover other alternative Darklock routes if more people are interested, but otherwise, if you want to join the Discord, feel free to join and at me if you have any questions. I'm quite active there. If you want to subscribe to the channel, please do. If you don't, then don't. Thanks for watching.